Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for watching my videos and subscribing to my channel, Dance Music Tutorials. So in this video, this is in response to a video request from a viewer. So they wanted to know how to set up the Motif Rack ES to their computer. So there's a couple different ways you can actually do that when it comes to the MIDI and the USB. I would use the USB version for myself if I was going to hook this piece of machinery up. So what I would do is I would just hook the USB cable from the Motif rack directly into the computer, as you can see here in this picture. Once you're done doing that, switch on the Motif rack and then go to its utilities option on the front of the machine, and then scroll through until you find the MIDI display option, and then for the MIDI in and MIDI out, select USB. That'll basically enable the computer and the Motif rack to talk back and forth to each other. So that's one way of doing it. Now the other way of doing it is basically you'll have to have some kind of interface to connect to your computer, which is a MIDI interface, which connects via the USB connection here to the back of your computer. And then there will be two plugs on the one side. One will be MIDI in, one will be MIDI out. So MIDI out goes to MIDI in, and MIDI in comes from MIDI out, goes into MIDI in. So you've got a signal being sent and being received. So this is your other option here if you're using MIDI cables. But I would just use the USB cable and just go to the utility and just change the setup for the MIDI and MIDI out to USB. Once you do that, I'm sure there'll be an option there to save it. Once you do that, you'll be set up for this portion of it. So the next thing you'll need to do is you'll need to make some setup changes in Logic Studio 9. So I already actually have mine open right here. And once you open up Logic, what you'll need to do is, I'm not sure if you actually reached this point yet or not with your setup, but you'll need to add in some tracks. And I've added in tracks. Once you've added in the tracks, you'll need to go to Window, go to your environment. Then just go to, on this little drop down right here, select MIDI instrument. Default value will probably be like the mixer like this here. Just go to your MIDI instrument screen, and then go right here, go to new, go to multi-instrument, and you'll see one of these drop down on the screen. And just go ahead and click on all these little 1 through 16 buttons here to open them up. This will enable you to do 16 tracks for this instrument. Next thing you want to do is name your instrument. So if you just take your left mouse button and double click where you see the little black MIDI plug, it'll open up to the multi-instrument screen. And this is where you actually can name all the program names. It takes a little time to do, but it's probably worth it if it's a piece of equipment that you're going to be using all the time. But anyway, to change the name, just come up here to device name and type in your device name. In my case, I'm just going to be using the Access virus, so I'm going to put in Access virus, ACC Access virus. Okay, so that's the piece of equipment that I'm going to set up for this demo. So once you're done that, click off of it, close it out, and now you'll see the name is there. So now you have your name here set up. Go ahead and close out of the multi-instrument view. Just close the environment out. Next thing you want to do is then just go ahead and find your instrument. So let me come over here real quick and find it here. Okay, so it's actually right here at the top. And at this point, all you have to do is just come over here, and once you select it, okay, so I selected it by selecting, this is a little difficult, so I'm going to try to explain as best as possible. Just find your instrument that you set up in multi-instruments. Okay, it'll be under the library tab. Once you select it, you'll see it turns blue. And the next thing you need to do is you'll see a little side arrow over here. Just click that. Now what you're doing is you're telling it that that's the instrument that you're assigning to this particular channel. Over here, you'll see that it says port all. Now this is where it gets a little tricky because you want to make sure that you select the port that your computer is set up for. Now, I know that this right now, my virus is on C because I set it up that way in the Midi audio setup, which you can actually access from the, let me show you. You go to Tools, go to Utilities, and then Audio Media Setup. Right here, this is where I already set mine up. So basically, all these instruments that you see here are showing up here. I can select them through the ports because these icons that you see here on this screen in the MIDI setup basically are what I'm able to pick as options in this view in Logic 9 in the drop down where I select for the port. So these instruments on this screen, these instruments right here, equal my options in the ports. Okay? And the only reason why they have these names here is because I gave them names in this view. So you'll have to name your, go into your setup, and whichever you're hooking up to your computer, it'll probably be something like USB or something like that is what will show up for your Motif. So you want to make sure that that's what you're hooking up to. You'll have to insert an instrument and then connect it directly to your Motif. So actually your Motif would be this, for example, and this would be your USB setup from your computer. So, and you can just drag these little arrows to these ports like this. So, arrow going to arrow going, and arrow going to arrow going. Okay, so that's what you have to do in order for your system to basically